So, how are you guys doing today at CVX Live? Last day, how are you guys feeling? Feeling awesome? Awesome? That's what I like to hear. You know me well. You've been in a couple of sessions. Great. So, today's talk, how to stand out on YouTube. We're going to run through some of these slides a little quicker, try to get to a lot of Q&A because I want to give you guys specific value. So, a little about me. Those of you who haven't been in the other sessions throughout the weekend, my name is Roberto Blake from robertoblake.com, helping you create something awesome today. So this part of how I stand out is my own intro on YouTube, and the fact that I also do my own branded shirts, all these little things that I bake into my videos and my brand to make me stand out, make me different. This hat, it's my Steve Jobs turtleneck. So there is a method to the madness here. So I've produced, shot, and edited over 1,000 videos on YouTube alone, plus another 1,000 live streams on the different platforms. As of today, we hit 250,000 subscribers on the channel, which is not something I take for granted. My channel. Oh, thank you. It's really hard when your channel's main message is learn stuff and work hard. Not the sexiest channel in the world based on the type of content that is there. Not something that 99% of people really want to do. I don't know what the demand looks like, but apparently it's bigger than I thought because I would have never imagined over the last 4 years that I'd be able to go from 0 to 250,000. And I did it by focusing on what was unique about me and playing to my strengths. And it gave me a lot of great opportunities. I got to work with companies like Adobe and Dell and Logitech and HP and so many other wonderful people. And I played to my unique strengths and skills. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today, because getting noticed on YouTube, standing on YouTube, everyone asks me, like, Roberto, how do I get noticed? How do I get discovered? How do I break out in YouTube? And the answer is, well, if you're going to play by the rules, it's not going to happen. Like, nobody that I'm ever aware of got tremendous, overwhelming success by playing by the rules so much as making up their own, because rules were made for the sake of the person who made them. It's what made them successful. You want to win? Make your own rules. And part of that is defining rules around your strengths, your weaknesses, what success looks like for you. You're not going to win on YouTube by copying somebody else. You're born into the world an original. Why are you going to become a clone now? So, as I said, over the last 3 to 4 years, did 1,000 videos all by myself. Still very much a one-man band. This is probably the last year of me doing it all by myself, because that is insane. That is for crazy people. Not go to 7 days a week by yourself without consulting a medical professional and maybe a therapist. I don't necessarily recommend it, but what it did for me was it did help me get better faster and help me get comfortable in my own skin on camera. It helped me find and redefine what my own style is, what my own cadence is, and just get good in a much quicker period of time than if I had not done it nearly as much. That's why one of my earlier talks was about consistency. By the way, the level of consistency you have could be something that helps you stand out, because maybe somebody has done the type of content you've already done before. But have they done 50 videos about that topic? Have they done 20? Have they done 10? Did they do a mini-series? Did they do short, or did they do long? Whatever somebody's already done, the reality is that maybe it's not what people were looking for. They just took it because it's only what was available. It's the only thing that was offered. Why don't you show up and give them another choice? Why don't you go ahead and do it in the way that only you can do it? Or maybe someone who's already done that thing, it didn't resonate and it didn't connect with that person because, well, I'm not like them. I don't have that background. I don't have that lifestyle, or they're not in my age, or they're not this, or they're not that, or they don't know how hard it is if you're doing it and you're from the Midwest, or what have you. There's any number of reasons why someone will identify with you versus identifying with another person as much. Just because you're doing something similar doesn't mean that the same emotional connection is there, and that's what's going to make you unique. That's how you're going to stand out to that person. That's how you stand out in the crowd. Yeah. To stand out apart from the crowd. You guys got a little karaoke for free. So yeah, Goofy movie, one of my favorite things as a kid, and it makes a great point. But if you're hesitating on all this because you're like, oh, what I do is saturated, there's 1 million people doing it, you can start now. Everybody that you're looking up to that's successful started from zero. Started from zero. There was a point where nobody knew who they were. 3 or 4 years ago, none of you knew who I was. Yep. And that's okay, because everybody starts from zero. And every time a new platform comes out, unless you're able to, for whatever reason, bring your audience over, you're going to start from zero again too. So at the end of the day, maybe the best time to start in YouTube was in 2010. I don't know. But the second best time, today, right now, maybe yesterday. So I would definitely recommend that. If you were somebody who is into gaming, you know what I've seen a million of? I've seen a million Let's Plays. You know what I'm not seeing? I'm not seeing people go and vlog about going to the flea market or pawn shop, hunting down an old video game cartridge or an old video game console. And you know what? I don't watch Let's Plays, but I'd watch that because I'm a kid who grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I want to see if you can find a Sega Genesis Master System. I want to see if you can find a Super Famicom. I want to see if you can find an original Game Gear and Sonic the Hedgehog. And that would actually mean something to me. So there's always a way to do it a little bit differently, and you can just start now. You can start now with your ideas because you can either come up with a new idea or you can focus on your unique qualities. You have individual unique qualities. You have an experience that nobody else has had. You have a voice that nobody else has. And the thing is, you can always put your spin on an existing idea or topic. Just because we have all these millions of voices and options, it doesn't mean that anyone has yet presented the option that I want. YouTube being saturated is completely irrelevant. You can stand out because the thing is, one more option, if it's the option that I want more than the other things, is better for me. It's like, you know what? You have these choices. Someone gave me Rocky Road. Somebody gave me French Vanilla. And I was like, that's it? But then someone shows up with cheesecake as an option. I'm like, yeah, sign me up. Like, where was that? You could have 21 flavors. You know what? I really want that 22nd flavor because that's the one that actually matters to me, and I can leave the rest behind. And I don't get that choice if you reject yourself first. If you decide, it's too hard, it's too saturated, it's too crowded, my voice is going to get drowned out. If you make that decision for me, I can't pick you over the other people. Does that make sense? So don't choose for people by rejecting yourself first. Focus on what is unique about you. You know what? Maybe somebody is doing the same format. Maybe there's all these cookie cutter channels and they're doing everything exactly the same way. And maybe by just doing a format change, doing something different, presenting it differently, you win. And it might not happen overnight, but eventually people can decide that your format is the standard. And then all of a sudden, you give it a year or two, and everybody's copying you. It's interesting. You know how Casey Neistat stood out in YouTube? For 5 years, he was everybody's favorite YouTube filmmaker, right? But 500,000 subscribers. Impressive. Most impressive. Little Darth Vader there. And so what happened was, 2 years ago, were any of you watching Casey Neistat 3 or 4 years ago? No hands, not a single one. But you guys know who he is now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because guess what he did? He decided to do something differently that only he could do. He brought his filmmaking chops from his success with HBO and shooting commercials and all of that to the genre of vlogging, a place where, shaky cam videos and bad lighting was, the trend, or people sitting in front of their bookshelves, that was the trend. And he brought epic level cinematography to a genre that was already saturated and that people thought was dying off, and he completely changed the game, and now everyone copies him because he raised the bar. He set a new standard. And after 5 years of doing it one way, going in on his unique strengths and doing something that hadn't been done in another genre, crossing over, he added another 7 million subscribers in 2 years by doing something differently. And by the way, the other thing he did differently was he did it every day for the most part. Something only he had the energy and the capacity to do. So by focusing on what was unique about his strengths, he blew up in YouTube, he got noticed, he stood out, he became relevant, so to speak. And he was challenged every step of the way because when he first started doing it, people criticized him because they're like, you're just promoting your new company, Bean. People criticized him because, Casey, you're my favorite filmmaker, don't try to vlog. Like, do you? And he was doing him. He was doing something that was interesting and challenging that he wasn't even sure he could succeed at. He took a tremendous risk that was uniquely built around his strengths. That is what made him different. Your overall brand style. You know that when you see a certain video from your favorite creator, even if their face isn't on it, you can tell sometimes that it's their edit. You can tell that it's their colors. You can tell that it's their aesthetic. They have their unique overall style, tonality. You know what? Maybe you do something different. PewDiePie's success is the fact that he was more hyper and energetic than most of the people in his genre, and that was new at the time. And so that made him stand out, and he was something different. And that actually made a difference in terms of his success. Representational value. You know what? What you do is something that might be underrepresented in your niche. That niche might be small now, but what if it blows up 2 years from now and there's more people? Because you were the one who was there, you were the one who showed up, and you did it better than other people. Or you did it, again, you did it as the person who's like, you know what? There's no one in my local area that's even trying to do this. Or there's no one in my genre that's trying to do this, but there's a couple of people who said they want something like that. Well, you represent that demand. You represent that market now. And when you have that unique representational value, then it's something different. You know who is a great example of this? Simone Yerkes. You guys might know her as the queen of crappy robots. We're going with family friendly in this version of it, but like you guys might know her channel, she makes horrible robots comedically, but she is one of the few science YouTubers who is a young woman. And the idea here was she wanted to get young people, especially girls, into STEM fields and make them think about being scientists or engineers. That's unique representational value because, you know, that's something that's a little different. It's like, oh, you know what, whenever I see a young woman on YouTube, she's a beauty blogger, or she is a family vlogger, or it's a lifestyle channel, or it's something like that. But oh, wait. Someone's a science geek just like me. I now can identify with this person and bond with them over something different. And oh, who else was doing that? Nobody. So that matters. Frequency and consistency. We talked about doing something a certain amount of times. If you just are showing up every single day, you become the person who is the daily version of that. You are the person that's like, oh, I like this thing. And yeah, these other people put out this thing once a week. This person is the person that's there every day. Bro. Creativity, consistency, and context. Creativity is what's special and unique about you, or it's your different style, it's your different perspective, etc., etc. And we know that that is a huge variable of success. But you know what else is? Consistency. Another thing I talk about. But here's the tricky part. Context. Context matters. And what context is, okay, that's cool, and you're here every day. Does that matter to me? Do I care about that? Does that resonate with me? Does that hit me where I live? So context matters. And if you can focus on those three things and figure out, well, what's my creativity? What's my unique intrinsic value? And then how sustainable is this? How consistent I am? Am I being consistent? Am I consistent on my messaging? Am I consistent on my energy, my tone, my brand? When I upload it, how I do it? What is consistent about me? And then context. Who does this matter to? Who is in my audience? Why do they care? What can I do to make their experience better? All of those things are going to be what make you stand out because if you do them in the right combination. Remember, Casey's unique ability was I have these filmmaking chops and I have a unique value in that I have more energy than anyone else and I can be consistent. I can make a film every day. That was Casey's thing. And then context. He was doing it and telling interesting stories, and it either excited people, made them curious, or maybe they related to it. So, creativity, consistency, and context. Types of content on YouTube. If you're going to stand out in YouTube, you need to figure out what your balance is in your content strategy, something that's not talked about enough. There are 3 types of content. This comes directly from YouTube, by the way. There's help content, which is things like tutorials and how-to videos and DIY. There's hub and community content. These are things like vlogs. And then there's hero content. These are things like films or motivational videos or something that is very highly produced and challenging and the kind of thing that you can maybe do once a year or once a quarter because it is a massive undertaking. So these are your 3 types of content. What's your balance? If you're a vlogger, maybe, just maybe, 70% of your stuff is hub content. Maybe 20% of your stuff is help and tutorials so that you have something to get you more views and more subscribers from searches from people who are outside your community that you can bring in. That would be a good balance. I know a lot of people who are vloggers and all they ever want to do is do vlogs about what their day was, where they went, what they ate, but what would be helpful is a few videos that maybe are about what gear they use to vlog with, or something like travel tips if they are a travel vlogger, etc. Something that is search engine friendly and something that would matter for someone trying to do what you're trying to do. If you are you're a vlogger, and the thing is that you are a motorcycle enthusiast and you actually repair your own bikes, a few tutorials on bike repair. They don't have to overwhelm your channel, you don't have to do them every week, but having a 5 or 10 tip series on how to fix your own motorcycle, how to fix your bike, and best places to travel with it, for like, on the road by yourself, etc. That could be helpful for someone just to understand that you also care about bikes as much as they are, but you have a vlog and you're traveling and you're doing cross-country like moto stuff and etc. And that can matter. And then having big hero-produced content that you're like, you know what? I think I have this big idea. I think I have this big idea that has some viral potential and can be shared. But you know what? It's gonna take me a couple of weeks to put it together. Well, you do that every once in a while. That could be the video that pops on your channel, as Daryl Eves likes to say, and can really make you successful and get attention for all the other content that you have. So balancing your own unique version of hub, help, and hero is actually really important. My channel is overwhelmingly, I would say, 90% help and tutorial content, 10% hub content right now, and 0 hero content. And even I am going to recalibrate my balance based on this idea, because I was just playing to my strength, but now that I have a community, now that I have an audience, I want to go deeper and I want to do more things that bring them together. And so I want to expand my hub content. Now that I understand video editing more, now that I'm better at public speaking, and now that I feel more comfortable on camera, I want to look at what's this big hero project that I could do and where I could get some of my friends together and do something really fun and something really creative that would really pop and could, at the same time be a very enjoyable video for my audience to see how far I can take my creativity. So visuals matter. If your thing looks like everybody else, why would somebody watch your thing versus everybody else? Also, how do they not confuse your thing with somebody else's? Which, you don't want that. You don't want people to have an expectation and then come to this thing and be disappointed. You also don't want, there's a little vanity in this. It's like, who wants to be mistaken for somebody else? Even if it's a flattering comparison, wouldn't you rather that they recognize you for who you are instead of mistaking you for someone else? Now, if somebody wanted to mistake me for Idris Elba, I'm not going to complain. I don't know how that happens. I then question their optometrist, but, I'll take it. So, visual branding. There are a lot of components to doing your visual branding and standing out. Your YouTube channel artwork is a big one, because if they're going through your channel and saying, is this a channel that has enough content, enough things worth subscribing to, well, that channel art's going to make a difference. Not to mention, there are a lot of places where your YouTube channel art shows up in terms of YouTube promoting you. So that can matter. Your thumbnails are an obvious one, because that's what's going to get you clicks, that's what's going to get you views lead to subscribers, it leads to everything. So having a unique style for your thumbnails so that your thumbnails are recognizable. Like, I think at this point, whether his face is in it or not, we probably recognize a Jake Paul thumbnail. We probably would recognize whether his face is in it or not. We probably recognize a thumbnail from David Dobrik. There's so many people who have a unique style and aesthetic to their thumbnails that we would know them a mile away. I could probably put something up here with different people's thumbnails, which didn't occur to me, and you'd be able to say, oh, I know whose one that is, oh, I know whose one that is. You'd probably get it. Your YouTube profile picture. Having that make sense in context and having it be different actually could be helpful. Instead of just doing a headshot against a white background like so many people do, maybe yours has a color background behind it that matches the same color as your YouTube channel artwork, and you've got branding consistency. Maybe that's something. Maybe it has a unique or interesting expression on your face, but still makes you recognizable. So there's things you could do there. Motion graphics. Having things in your videos that are part of your visual style that pop up on the screen or fly out or their lower thirds, that makes your videos different and unique because, oh, well, that's yours. Meaning that, nobody can mistake it for anyone else's because it's another unique element that you've added to the mix. And maybe no one in your entire genre is putting fancy motion graphics or words on text in their videos. Maybe their stuff is all just direct to camera with none of that. Your visual style and your color grading, the way that you light, the way that you frame, the way that you edit, that's different. Everyone has a different editing style. And again, you know your favorite YouTuber's editing style. You know it by heart. You can see it. You can tell. You can tell when they're putting effort into a video by that style, and you can tell when they're not. And so you have an opportunity there to stand out and to do things there. your YouTube end cards. There are plenty of people doing funny and curious things with their YouTube end cards. Some people are like using them in a weird way as like a voting thing. I've seen some people use them as choose your own adventure. That's a way to stand out. That's something different. And again, it's not just part of your different look. It's about, well, what do I do at the end of your videos that might be different than someone else's? Something I'm looking at incorporating is when anybody that bought any of my merchandise and they tag me on it in Instagram, I'm thinking to start grabbing those. And before my YouTube end card comes out, just putting their picture and a little shout out for them at the end of the video for like 3 seconds before the end card comes up. And then that encourages more people possibly to buy merch. It also encourages more people to tag me. I'm thinking of doing for people to do cool artwork too, just to shout out some of those artists. And it's a different thing. And then maybe more people watch the videos to the end because they want to say, oh, well, who's the creator of the day now? Or like who from the community is getting acknowledged now? You can find little ways to bake things into the end of your videos that stand out, that connect you deeply with your community. That's something nobody else might have thought of. So think about what your own interesting things are that you can do that then pull people in and also keep them and retain them to the end of the video, or make them say, I want to know what happens at the end of the video because out of curiosity, what are they going to put at the end of the video this time? I think we all remember when people used to put blooper reels at the end of the video, right? And we'd watch or skip through the video just to get to the end to see the bloopers. So there are different things you can do to stand out there. YouTube watermark. You can do something cool with your YouTube watermark. It doesn't have to just be your logo. Some people put their logo, some people put subscribe, some people put interesting, quirky things there. And it's just something that gets them more attention. And if you're doing something different there, or if you're switching it up every now and again, it triggers curiosity and people stick around, if nothing else sometimes, out of morbid curiosity. Just something to think about. Channel layout. Focusing on how your channel layout is a way to kind of not only make things clear for your audience, but you can stand out there. Are your videos based on some kind of schedule in terms of your channel layout, or are they based on what your viewers watch the most? Is it playlist? Is it also featuring other creators you collab with? Figure out a strategy for your YouTube channel layout and figure out what you can do there to make your thing not look generic when compared to other people in your niche. One of the brands that I think gets thumbnails and their channel layout right is Adobe. I mean, just look at that. Those are some really good thumbnails, and they also are doing very interesting and unique things there that set them apart. When I go to competing creative companies, when I go and I look at like Corel or somebody like that, it doesn't look anything like this. And part of it is the way that they chose their content strategy, the way that they do their thumbnails, the way that they're doing branded shows. They figured out how they're going to stand out among their competitors. And I think it's a very smart strategy, and I think you can learn a lot if you even look at how brands are doing things. Because one of the things that will make you stand out is doing more prep and research and homework than anybody else is a really good way to stand out. I was literally just talking with Daryl Eves about this. And one of the things that we talked about was really successful YouTubers, they study what's going on in their niche. When people quote unquote come out of nowhere, it's not an accident. It's that they've been studying, they've been training, they've been prepping like an athlete. When other people are just, I'm just gonna throw stuff up and see what happens. Like, no, these people came prepared. And so if you study things in your niche, or you study success, or you study brands, half the work's already been done for you, because instead of you figuring something out, you know where the bar is. You don't copy them, you go, you know what, that's a good idea. I'll find a way to do something like that. Oh, that's a good idea, I wouldn't have thought of that. How can I make that interesting? Or how can I do it differently for my audience? Or, oh wait, this thing is popular in another genre, but I bet you nobody in my genre has ever thought of something like that. Remember what we talked about? Casey Neistat took filmmaking stuff to vlogging, and now everyone does it. Everyone upped their production game. Everybody went and bought the same camera gear. Everybody's got the bendy tripod now. You can change the game. Remember what I said, change the rules. Instead of playing by the rules of your niche, go rogue. Find what's good in another niche and remix. The best places you've ever been in your life in terms of like bars or clubs or restaurants and music, I bet you a lot of what you were hearing as far as the music was remixes instead of the original. So don't be afraid to sample from a lot of different places and research the best of the best, but research 25 things that are the best and borrow something interesting from all of them instead of copying one or two people. That's how you get to unique value. Again, great examples of unique and interesting thumbnails here and aesthetic quality and branding. So one of the things I did differently This is the thumbnail for literally my most successful video on YouTube. In 2016, May 2016, I did this video, and in the first 48 hours, it only got 3,400 views, which is, not bad in my opinion, despite whatever your audience size is. Every video lives and dies on its own merits. You know how many views this thumbnail, well, not just thumbnail, the video got to this day? It's at over 900,000 views. A video that I was like, this did all right, or maybe it tanked. 48 hours, only 3,000 views. 900,000 views. And part of it was, you know what? Instead of doing a thumbnail where it's just a still frame from the video with some text on it, I'm going to use my unique and different skills. I have a background in graphic design. I know what billboards are supposed to look like. I did those for a living. Let me do an intentional photo shoot. Let me use some of my graphic design chops. Let me use good typography. And let me make the best thumbnail when anyone searches how to make money online, how to make passive income online. Let me make the best thumbnail that shows up in the results page. Let's make sure my thumbnail stands out. And what happened was, it's almost at 1 million views, and in the first 48 hours, you would have thought it flopped. And it's just the difference of using my unique skills as a graphic designer to make something that's much more clickable than everybody else who's not a graphic designer in that genre or for those videos. So that was the practical thing I did. Question?
When did it start to take off? If it was like just kind of, you thought it was dead?
So
how long did it take?
About roughly 6 months, because what happened was it was getting trickled in search volume and related video stuff, not anything massive, nothing to write home about.
Did you mess with any of the metadata?
I did 2 things. So initially it had the crappy thumbnail I talked about where it's just a still frame. And what I did after about 6 months was I updated the metadata and the thumbnail at the exact same time, and then it started to get more views than it had ever gotten, and it kept going and going and going, and then some other people made some videos and they had audiences, but guess what? Their thumbnails weren't as good, even though they got a ton of views, and my thumbnail was the related and recommended thumbnail in the right-hand column, and then all of a sudden I got massive traffic spikes from that. And I've talked about how that works strategically on the videos in my channel and some of the sessions here, but I almost guarantee you that even if I did all the metadata stuff, it wouldn't have mattered because I didn't have an enticing, clickable thumbnail with all of those things, because it's the difference between I will just put in more effort and more work and pay more attention to detail because I'm asking people to spend 13 minutes of their time with me, even if I'm giving them great value, even if I think that this video is amazing, even if this video really does tell them, which it does by the way, it's not clickbait, I really did tell them how to make 10 ways to make passive income online, one of those being YouTube ad revenue. And anytime you want, you can literally just watch that video and it's probably going to help you with your YouTube ad revenue and some other things that you may not be monetizing on YouTube, because adpocalypse, that's a real thing, so that video might be more relevant than it's ever been. So yeah, it's looking at those things. And by the way, that's actually another good point, is looking at trends is not a bad thing, because even if something is trendy and everybody's talking about it, well guess what? That means there's attention around it. You don't know that you won't be able to make a better video than someone else just because they have a big audience. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't matter how many subscribers you have, unless they're so loyal that they're watching every single video, and again, if you're, that doesn't even happen if your name's PewDiePie. It kind of happens if your name's Jake Paul right now. I don't know. But the point being that I think a lot of people have it confused that subscriber count is the variable of success in YouTube. It's not. Videos live and die on their own individual merits. If you make a video as a YouTuber that doesn't resonate with your audience, or the majority of your audience has no reason to care about it, or if you're lazy on it, that video can send your entire channel into a death spiral. It's happened to many, many creators. It's the thing probably as far as a fear that drives them the most, aside from being irrelevant. So I'm here to tell you that you guys as small YouTubers have a tremendous opportunity, because if you just make a better video on trend, that's how you can break out. That's how people go viral. That's how people quote unquote come out of nowhere. But if you want people to stick, then you still have to have other things of quality on your channel. And so don't be afraid to use a trend to get some attention, but to do absolute quality and to make a quality experience for people in the way that only you can do it. Because the reality is every creator is living in their own head, which means that whatever someone else said, They may not have thought of the 5 points that you thought of. They might not have even seen the thing you saw because they're a big creator, their view on it is different. But maybe because you're a small creator, more people can relate to your point of view. They might admire that person. That person might be completely disconnected from the reality that they live in. The reality that you live in as a small creator probably resonates with the average everyday person. And the reason we all love YouTube is not because of the quote-unquote new internet celebrities. It's because we get to watch people like us do cool things. That's what brought us to YouTube. The other thing that brought us to YouTube was we got to be ourselves, and we found a place where we can be ourselves and that great things can happen for us doing that. And that's why we get to stand out. And we do that by creating great experiences for other people, but by also making experiences that are worth our while and worth capturing on video. So let's briefly talk about objective quality. If you've been in my talks, you have seen me do this, but there are plenty of people here. I see some fresh faces, so I want to talk about this because I think that people get intimidated by the idea of making a quality video and what that means. And this is something that me and Daryl and Tim, we talk together about this all the time, especially for small creators. You don't need the fanciest camera gear in the world. When I started on YouTube, from 0 to 100,000 subscribers, I was using what I don't think it's a crappy camera. I think it's actually a pretty nice camera. It had no flip screen. I had to kind of rig things with that. The camera I was using was the Nikon D3200. That camera is about 5 years old, 6 years old now. It was not new when I bought it, even though it was new for me and I paid new prices. But today that camera retails at $350 with a lens. And it's the camera that got me from 0 to 100,000 subscribers. I got to 100,000 subscribers on a $350 camera. There are plenty of YouTubers who go out and buy a $3,000 camera and can't seem to make a good video to save their life. They couldn't shoot a video out of a paper bag. I don't think anyone can shoot a video out of a paper bag. Maybe Casey can do it, I don't know. But visual quality matters, but not as much as you think. You know why? Because this device right here is a better camera and a better media creation device than Spike Lee had when he shot Do the Right Thing. It just is. This does time-lapse. This does slow-mo. This does low-light situations. This does full HD. 4K, actually, now that I think about it. And you can edit on it. In many cases, this is good enough. In the right circumstances, I could produce a 4K video on this that you would have no idea wasn't shot on a DSLR. And I could edit it on this too, and you'd have no idea. And that's not because, I am an amazing video producer, but I'll take it. It's because it's that good, and it's because it's that straightforward. Good content is somewhat about objective quality, meaning the visual quality, the sharpness, is it in frame, is it in focus, yada yada. Audio quality is really important because no one wants to sit through crappy audio. I can live with a little bit of camera shake. I got through the movie Cloverfield, but bad audio, not so much. Editing quality, well, taking something in frame longer than it needs to be or something being rambly, you need to edit and that needs to be good. You need the story to flow. So those things do matter. But as much as those things matter, they are not the only thing or even the main thing that makes a video successful on YouTube. I think we've all seen very poorly produced, cringy quality videos, potato quality videos. Isn't that what the kids are saying, potato quality videos? They get massive views, right? And you know why? I'm going to reveal the secret. Subjective quality. What I like and think is good is not what you like and think is good, unless you have fantastic taste. So we all like what we like. My favorite colors might be this, your favorite colors might be that. I may think that certain creators have the most annoying, squeaky voices in the world, and for other people, maybe that's something that they're into. I don't know. But the point is, if something is interesting to you, if something is relevant to you, and something is engaging and emotionally satisfying to you, that's a good video, regardless of whether it was shot on a $300 camera or a $3,000 camera. If you like what you're seeing, if you like the experience, then it's a good video. Thumbs up. If you don't like the experience, you don't like the creator, you don't like their personality, it doesn't matter. You can produce the greatest looking video of all time, and if people don't like it or they don't like you, it doesn't matter. It's subjective. You don't have control over that, so you just do your best. And that's the main thing, which is why I don't want you to get perfection paralysis and think that to stand out in YouTube, you have to shoot in 4K, 60 frames per second, or that you have to have the greatest camera gear of all time. You want to stand out in YouTube, find a way to connect with people, find a way to be interesting for them, find a way to say, you know what, this is relevant right now, and I want to talk about it. And be engaging, be someone that they can relate to, be someone they want to have coffee with, be someone that they want to fall in love with, be someone that they want to see day in and day out. Create demand by being their friend, being their good, be their favorite. That's what my friend Amy would tell you. Amy Spatara would tell you. She has an entire thesis called Be Their Favorite. And you have to know for your individual audience what being their favorite means. I'll tell you the secret to Jake Paul's success because I was paying attention to him before anybody else. And it's not what people think it is. It's that he's smarter than people think he is. You don't even have to like him to understand his hustle. And here's the secret. I went back and I studied his channel. And I studied what he was doing years ago. But I was paying attention to him because I was working as a consultant on a Disney thing. And at Maker's booth last year at VidCon when no one was really paying attention. I thought about it, I was looking at his stuff. And what I've noticed now is in doing a new audit, about roughly 8-9 months ago, he was running experiments on his YouTube channel. He was running experiments on his YouTube channel. And what he wanted to figure out was what would guarantee that he hits over 1 million views on every single video. And so he started seeing what would stick. He figured out what was resonating with his audience. And then, about roughly 5 to 6 months ago, when he figured out that formula, every single video, every single day became that, once he figured it out. And it took him about somewhere between 3 to 5 months of experimenting to finally find the formula. But once he found the unique formula of what would be interesting, relevant, and engaging for his particular fan base, this is what I want you to learn. I don't want you to be Jake Paul. I want you to understand that knowing your audience better than anybody else is how you break out, is how you win. You have to know your community and your audience, and what you do is you look at what performed on your videos. You looked at what got me the most watch time, what got me the most subscribers, what got me the most views, what got me the most comments. You look at these things, and then you start making notes on that. And then you find a way to work that into the format of every single video until you're able to then build the perfect video consistently, saying that wasn't a one-hit wonder, that wasn't a fluke. I've managed now to get this to happen 3 times in a row, 5 times in a row. Oh, it didn't work time number 4. What was different about that from the other ones? And then you do that over and over. That's what Jake did. And that's where, in the last 6 months, he blew up and went in 6 months and got another 10 million subscribers. Like, that's insane. But it's not an accident. And it's not necessarily because his videos are the best videos in the world. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm not the target market. I'm not the audience he was catering to. I'm just some schmo who likes to study things and study people who are successful. And so what I would tell you is if you want to stand out, if you want to stand out in the world, you have to know what works for you, who you are, have self-awareness, know what's your unique talent, what's your unique story, what is interesting and fascinating about the way that you do things, and can other people relate to it? Can they get an emotional connection to that? Do you have the capacity to deliver an emotionally satisfying video? And once you've done that, how do you replicate that formula over and over and over again and become their favorite? How do you differentiate yourself from everyone else in your niche? How do you bring something new to the table? And what about you is just a little different? Because that little bit of difference means the world to somebody. And so that's what I've got. We've got literally about 2 or 3 minutes for Q&A, but I want to give you guys tremendous value, which means I will be out in the hall, or we can even move over to room F together and do that. If anybody has questions, but I'll take 1 or 2 of them now real quick with the remainder of my time. Yes?
Do you have a book that you would recommend for YouTube SEO?
Ultimately, there was a book that Daryl Eaves wrote, I think, 2 years ago that's still very relevant for that. You can find on Amazon. You can also look into Tim Schmoyer's 30 Days to a Better YouTube channel that has that. The best examples of YouTube SEO, though, are being done in more or less real time, which means the things that me and Daryl and Tim have done, either regarding the algorithm or tagging or how to use Tubebuddy. Is anybody here not familiar with Tubebuddy?
vidIQ.
Tubebuddy, anybody not know what Tubebuddy is?
What if we use vidIQ?
Okay, so vidIQ is good, but value to price for features and the fact that I know that the Tubebuddy team is constantly updating, and I see it all the time, I recommend that one more for data and feature sets and how it works. It's also been less buggy in my experience. I like vidIQ, I was paying for it, but I like Tubebuddy, Morning Fame, Viduli, and Tubular Labs, and was there one more tool that I was using? I think that's the ones that I used for analyzing data. I also use Social Blade and VidX Stats, but what I'm going to recommend with Tubebuddy is that there's a lot of bulk editing features and productivity features that I would use there, but also on the SEO thing, I trust it more than anything else, and they're YouTube certified. So they're YouTube certified even as a third-party vendor, and when I've spoken to people at YouTube, they've said, oh yeah, that's a good tool, and so that's why I recommend it. If you actually want 20% off code for it, you go to tubebuddy.com/awesome, put in code Roberto's Buddy, no apostrophes, no capitalizations, and you'll get 20% off of whatever plan you buy. But you can also get the free version. The paid version works better, but it's literally the thing that I use to re-optimize my video that I told you about, the one that performed the best for me, that's almost at 1 million views now. That was what I re-optimized it with. I've always been good at SEO because I had a web design background, but that tool was game-changing because it helped me take my instincts to a different level. So that's my main tip for you. For all the other questions, I'm going to be out in the hall, and then maybe we all migrate to the room F, unless you guys want to watch another session. Again, thank you guys so much.